Okay, good morning everyone. So this is our last assembly of the school year. We'll be doing a couple of live assemblies for year groups next week, where we'll be doing some green ticket giveaways. But in terms of my week to fortnightly assemblies that I've been doing, that this is the last one. Of course, we've got a week of working hard this week, then we've got a week of wellbeing activities next week, and of course next Monday we've got our sports day. So it'd be great to see as many of you as possible taking part in that. So very quickly, I just want to talk about what I want you to be doing, or what we think you should be doing over the holidays. And there's been lots of talk about catch up and what students need to be doing to sort out what they've missed in the curriculum. But I'm going to make a big plea that you read as much as humanly possible. And we had the guidance this week from the government about how to reopen schools in September, and so we're making those plans. And I think it's fair to say it will be different in September when you come back into school, but we're going to make it as safe and as great an experience for you as possible. But the other thing that the government said in their guidance, that they thought the most important catch-up that students could do in order to make sure that you don't have a gap between the rich and the poor, between the advantaged and disadvantaged, between the haves and have-nots, is making sure that everybody reads. And one of the things that we had in our Ofsted inspection, which seems a long time ago now in January, was that we needed to make sure that people were reading more widely. And so that has been really kind of brought home to me in the last kind of few days or so. So I'm here in my parents' garden in the Midlands, and unlike other Dominics, I assure you I followed lockdown rules in order to get here. But I'm here because, like many of you, and I know this because the heads of year have spoken about the number of bereavements that have happened over this COVID-19 period, with lots of family members of you, and we really need to know about that, by the way, so that we can help with that in terms of planning and counselling for when you return in September. But I'm here in my parents' garden because unfortunately I've also had a bereavement, and my mum passed away last week, and I'm here just kind of helping my dad out a bit and planning for the funeral, which is this Friday. And over the weekend I've been writing the eulogy, which is kind of what you write to say about how fantastic somebody is. I mean, obviously everybody's mum is super fantastic, but my brother and sister and I were talking about what it is that makes our mum so special. And you can see here, we've got obviously this really lovely garden. You can see behind me the house where I was born, and in fact that window behind me is the very room in which I was born. But you've got the house behind me where I was born and grew up, and obviously it looks really nice, but it's an old council house. It's not anything special. And I think that my brother and sister and I were talking about what it is that allowed us to have kind of great social mobility in order to kind of move on in life. And we kind of pinpointed it, or certainly pinpointed one of the things, was that my mother always instilled in us an absolute love of reading and language and communication. So, for instance, when we were growing up, my mum would always correct us if we pronounced something incorrectly, or we said we was instead of we were, or we said ain't, or we didn't say our T's in the middle of sentences. And even though that might kind of seem a little bit annoying at the time, actually, that means that you can then communicate with anybody. You don't have to feel insecure or worried about the language that you know, or that your language sounds different from everybody else. That's a kind of great leveler in terms of how kind of social mobility works, the ability to kind of hold your own in any given situation. And the other thing that my mum, and let's not forget my poor old dad, gave us is a great love of reading. So my parents, I was the first person in my family to ever go to university. My parents both were educated at the age of 16. I mean, my dad actually to the age of 14. Sorry, the dog is also involved in this assembly this morning. But both of them, and my mum especially, would always say, about the importance of reading and the love of reading, and making sure that reading was always part of our household. If you go into the loo in our house, even now, then there's books of poetry in the toilet, so that when you're sitting down and relaxing, in the morning, that you'd kind of open the book of poetry and read the poem. And actually, that I would say is one of the greatest gifts that my parents gave to us, and all the other gifts, obviously. But in terms of when we were thinking about our mum and why it is that we've become pretty successful and a really successful family, and how proud we are of that is because, you know, a love of language and a love of words, a love of poetry, and a love of doing things properly. And the more words you know, the more language you know, the more that you read, the more successful you will be in life. I mean, there's lots and lots of studies to show that, but actually I can tell you that because of the experience that I've had with my mum. So I suppose what I'm saying to you, very simply, it's been a bit of a rambly assembly, but obviously it's been a bit of a difficult time, is that over the summer, what you need to do, you know, you can do lots of work, you can go on lots of online things to catch up, and you can, you know, need to do lots of things around your, you know, your specific subjects and the things you can read to catch up on the syllabus and things like that. But probably the most important thing that I think, that my mum certainly thought, and actually that the government thinks about how you can make sure you're ready for September, is to pick up a good book, to find a good book, to find a volume of poetry, to find something online and read, because that acquisition of language, that acquisition of vocabulary, that acquisition of a love of the spoken and written word will set you free, will give you the opportunity to be lots and lots of things in life. So have a fantastic summer holiday. If I do not see you before, although I'm seeing increasingly more of you in school, stay absolutely safe. Make sure that you know, embrace the freedoms that the easing of lockdown is giving us, but make sure you absolutely stay safe within that guidance as well, because we don't want to be in a situation where we're not meeting in the classrooms in September. And pick up a book, have a read, and have a lovely break. Thank you.